Elon's
Musk company, Starlink, has a project where they are trying to give broadband internet to just about anyone, by way of space internet or more accurately satellite internet. It is meant to service rural areas where there are many kinds of interferences that may disrupt the signal. Starlink is launching satellites into Earth's orbit, promising to give people high-speed internet. In 2021, Starlink started launching satellites in the sky, well into Earth's orbit to be more exact, and now 1 year later they have about 2 stacks of working satellites orbiting Earth. Starlink says they are offering their satellite internet service to over 32 countries worldwide, with many people on a wait list to become customers and receive the internet service. Ukraine is one of the countries with potential customers waiting for equipment, but unfortunately, with what's going on there, we can understand why they haven't been serviced yet. Astronomers, though, are not too sure about having this many satellites orbiting Earth because it's blocking their view of space at night when they look through their telescopes. So that's a problem Starlink will have to solve. You also have competitors like Viasat, Usenet, and Amazon Project Kuiper who are trying to slow down Starlink's momentum so they can get in on the wave too. Starlink is really just a division of SpaceX, and a part of SpaceX's program to have a constellation, which is just a group or cluster of related things, of satellites. Starlink is targeting mainly areas where it's hard to impossible to get internet without the need to put up in or lay down communication lines. It makes it easier to deliver internet to these locations with a satellite. It will work very similar to satellite TV, direct TV, or dish. You get a smaller satellite that acts as a receiver for the larger orbiting satellites in the sky. The personal satellite will connect with those orbiting and then provide internet to where you are on Earth. Right now, consumers of the Starlink internet service have seen speeds up to 100 megabits per second. That puts it up there with DSL and far better than dial-up, which didn't even reach 1 Mbps. A megabit is larger than a kilobit. First off, how does a satellite, number 1, get into space, and number 2, orbit Earth? Satellites are put into space with rockets, of course. This is the fastest and most efficient way to do so, as there are layers to Earth's atmosphere and some are pretty thick, and can use a lot of gas to get through them, but if you blast through with rocket speed, you get there quick. Rockets have what's called an inertial guidance system, or IGS, that calculates the best path for the rocket's flight plan. IGS is like GPS on steroids. Most flight plans call for the rocket to head east because the Earth rotates east, west to east to be exact, or counterclockwise, and because of this rotation, it gives the rocket an extra boost. The closer you are to the equator, the bigger that boost is. Starlink launches its satellites from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, which is pretty close to the equator, much closer than, let's say, Cleveland. How satellites orbit the Earth. The rocket goes just far enough into Earth's atmosphere to not fully escape, but just enough to not float off into space. You can think of the Earth's atmosphere like a ceiling. It keeps everything within unless it's strong enough to burst through, then it has no limits. Like a helium balloon. If you let it go in your house, it hits the ceiling, but if you let it go outside, it goes up until it runs out of helium. The key with a satellite is to make sure the orbital velocity, how fast it's going around the Earth, is enough to keep it in orbit. Think of those amusement park rides where you go really fast in a circle. The gravitron is what I think it's called. You go so fast you stick to the walls, but not fast enough where you go flying out the ride. Earth's orbit is just like this. What about the internet? Why does putting orbiting satellites in the sky give internet back to folks landside of the Earth? This happens via radio waves. The orbiting satellite is more a relay of the internet than a producer of the internet. There are ground stations Earthside that produce internet more than likely via fiber optics. It has direct communication with the satellites orbiting Earth. It passes the internet to those satellites, and then those satellites can then pass the internet communication via waves to smaller consumer satellites on Earth. That's pretty much the gist of how this works. Starlink is putting their satellites lower than those who have been at this longer, like Usenet, which orbit the Earth around 22,000 miles above. Starlink is only 300 miles, which make for better connectivity and speed. They are well on their way and could become a leader in the space very soon. That's it for this video. Please subscribe and follow the Senior Strategist on all my channels for new content. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, DTube, and direct me.